Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host and elk hunting coach, Joe Gillett. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Gillett, and this is our InSights edition of Blue Collar Elk Hunting, where we want to talk and learn about all things elk. And on today's special edition, let's say you're on a public land elk hunt and you pull up and there are a couple other hunters at the trailhead. All of you heading out to hunt somewhere along the next whatever miles of forest in front of you, all of you with a tag in your pocket, with your own hunting gear and with the same opportunity. Each of you with the goal of putting your skill set to the test and punching your tag. Now it's on, man. A competition as old as time itself. With others having the same goal as you, this is where you get to find out who the hunters really are, who will be successful. You against the elements, against time, against the animal, and you against yourself. Look, y'all, have you ever asked yourself or wondered where your hunting skill set would measure up compared to other hunters? What if you had the chance to do just that? And on a dream hunt with your tags, license, food, and shelter all paid for, and you had the chance at thousands of dollars of prizes in addition, man. Well, y'all, I'm excited to tell you about our newest ElkBros partnership and introduce you to Troy Goeckeritz and his exciting new hunting and TV show and competition that puts real people just like you and me in front of the camera on a real hunt with every part of the real grind, and it's called Hunt Warz. Troy, welcome to the show.
Holy cow, man, you got me excited. I want to put in for my own freaking show. So thanks for having me, Joe. You couldn't have said it better. I mean, man, I'm really excited about this partnership. I'm excited about season 2. I'm excited about season 1. Good heck. I mean, we drop an episode every Thursday. Man, it's just been awesome. So thank you for having me on. Thank you for the partnership. I mean, we're going to discuss a lot of that today, but man, getting me psyched for season 2.
And I don't get excited about stuff, bro. Man, you know what's so cool is I know that this is your passion project. And that's what gets me excited, because I'm just that guy, man. I mean, I'm so passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about elk hunting. And there's more to this show than just elk hunting, and we'll talk about that. But before we do, Troy, so that people know the man behind this, tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So it's funny. You say you're passionate about elk hunting. I am probably one of the most diehard elk hunters on the planet. I love elk hunting. That's my thing in the fall. And, you know, it's exactly what you said. We've shown up to trailheads in Montana and Colorado and all these different places, and we've had the opportunity, and you have other guys unpacking their gear the same time you're packing your, you know, and you always ask yourself, like, who's going to go deeper? Who's going to go farther? Who's going to be successful? Who's not? And that's kind of where the concept came from. So I'm from Utah, grew up here, born and raised. My dad taught me how to hunt, and I've got 5 brothers, so we were always competitive, like on everything. If it was racing to the backyard or kicking a soccer ball or throwing a baseball. And then as I grew up, I ended up choosing the path of baseball, and I played in college. And anyway, that competitive spirit's just always been with me throughout my life. And as I've gotten older, we wanted, you know, hunting is my passion, and we wanted to bring that competitive nature to, you know, and hook it up with this passion of ours of hunting. And so we hatched this idea back, you know, now it's been almost 2 years ago, and kind of fleshed it out. We wanted to make sure that hunting and competition could run together in the same sentence and people wouldn't cringe. And how we did it is we were very strategic in our scoring system. We were very strategic in, you know, the leveling the playing field. It doesn't make sense when one guy's hunting private land and the other guy's hunting public land, and they're trying to, you know, compete against each other. That's not fair. And so we thought, if we could have the same week, same tags, same elements, same public land, same whatever, who would come out victorious? And if we put that in a film and we practice the highest in ethics, could we pull it off? And that's what it is. So background wise, that's me. Just a Western hunter that is excited about bringing a new show to the general public. But if you watch our premiere, I love our lead-in where everyday guys are stars of our show. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I think that to me, because in most of the hunting industry, hunting shows, it's basically highlight stuff with the best people, with the best gear and the best places. And, it just gives a whole different kind of vision to people out there, and a lot of people, I kid you not. I was on earlier in my career, I wanted a buddy of mine to go out and to film a hunt of mine. So he had never been out elk hunting before. He was good with cameras. So I give him one of the DVDs that was happening at the time. I believe it was a Primo's, and I said, check this out. And he watches it. He comes back. He's like, piece of cake, man. We go out, we set up on the side of a meadow. I roll the camera, you call, they come in, you shoot it, we're done.
Little did he know that is not even close.
No, and that's what I love about this show. And people that are watching season 1, and we're going to get into that a little bit more, get to see exactly that. It is the real grind, real people, real feelings and emotions that go along with that, and I think that's what's going to ring true with so many people is that you get out there on a 7-day hunt and you're doing the grind and things aren't going the way you want. It beats on you mentally, it beats on you physically. And it was so cool. I loved in your early episode, and I'm always watching the elk ones, right? But I love it. You're watching Team Utah. These guys are out and they're beating the bush early in the morning. They're out there before daylight, and you go back to Team Bama and you see sleeping bags, man.
It's funny. That's actually what brought us together, right? You watched the episode, reached out to me, and you're like, "Hey, have you ever thought about giving some coaching to these guys?" And in the back of my mind, I'm like, we tried, as much as we could. And not that they were bad hunters. It's just inexperience does play a role in a lot of hunts, and especially showing up to a new area. So those early episodes are what brought us together, Joe. And I'm really excited for season 2. And you're exactly right. It's real. It's not second takes. It's not, we're not there to dramatize anything. We just want to capture what really happens and what goes on.
And that's the beauty of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to step backwards a little bit, because we have tons of our listeners and viewers that know we're talking about a competition. They know now it's called Hunt Warz, but they really don't know about really what it is and what the structure is. So let's give that short version there.
Sure. So I'll actually recap season 1. So season 1, we went out and we took applications from anybody and everybody that we possibly could find that we pitched the show to, and said, hey, we're going to have 4 elk tags and we're going to have 4 deer tags. You put in, you apply for it, and then we randomly draw 8 teams, and then you'll show up. We'll tell you exactly where you're going. You'll get to e-scout it. But you cannot step foot in your unit any days prior to the 1 day of scouting we give you when you arrive in camp. And we took applications. COVID kind of set us back, but we had New Mexico 16C elk tags, which, are, really upper tier tags for New Mexico.
Gila. Everybody wants to hunt the Gila. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that mystical creature out there, and so we did that, and we showed up. We had one team show up September 7th, one team from Bama, one team from Utah that had gotten drawn. Mm-hmm. They never stepped foot in New Mexico, and they hunted for 7 days straight. And then we had another team show up. We had 1 day of rest for our cameramen. And then we had another two teams show up, one from Colorado and one from Montana, which you'll see coming up here in the following episodes, where we kicked it back to our elk episodes. But they hunted the next 7 days, and we filmed the entire thing. And we watched, these guys struggle. We watched them persevere. We watched them figure out the area and hone in on how to elk hunt in 16C. It's different. And being an elk hunter and being in that the field for as long as I was, it's definitely a different location than what people are probably used to. So we did that, and then we moved on to the deer hunts, and we had guys show up, and we had the infamous Aaron Snyder and South Cox on the show, and head-to-head with traditional archery equipment, and then we had the Idaho boys that you just saw finish up, and the Utah boys go head-to-head, and I won't spare you, but you can go watch the episodes.
Right, man. Yeah. So, people are going, okay, it's a competition, but what are the rules? How do you win? How do I get into it? What does it cost me?
Yeah. So basically, it's $100 to apply. We have a bunch of gear sponsors that you will get through the mail if you're selected. So we randomly draw a team, match that team up, and then that team will then start getting sponsorships, sponsored gear from our gear sponsor that sponsor the actual hunting competition on the gear side. Then we have our sponsors that actually sponsor the prize packs. And last year, the gear that they got when they showed up, Leopold kicked butt for us. They gave us all of our optics for the guys in camp. Rangefinders, binos, spotters, the works. Wow. G5 gave the broadheads. So we had G5 broadheads. We had sheep feet made for every hunter. We had Badlands backpacks. We had peak refuels in camp. We had solo stoves for when they got back for campfires to keep it down. I mean, we had some really cool stuff. On the prize pack side, we had prime bows for each guy that won. So if your team won, you got prime bows, crispy boots, you've got solo stoves, and then you got black Ovis pants, crispy socks as a winning prize pack if you won your matchup. Wow. So that was kind of the gear involved. Right. Now, the scoring system was really cool. We had total gross score of the animal. I'm a gross score guy. I've never loved net. If the animal grows it, give it to him. We had the shot yardage, and I'll kind of talk about that, and then the age. So the age counted for double points. So if you had a bull elk that scored 300 inches gross, he was 5 years old, your score would then be 310. Yep. Then whatever yardage your shot was taken from, your cameraman was your referee. He would then, anywhere from 0 to 40 yards was a 0-point deduction. 40 to 60 was a 10-point, 60 to 80 was a 20, and 80 plus yard shots were a 30-point deduction. And we did that to push people to get closer. We want them close. We want these animals dead. And so, killed ethically, I should say. And so we wanted to give a kicker for that. So if you shot from a yardage, beyond 40, you'd get a point deduction. And then it was total score won your matchup.
And I really love that part of it. And and that's what's so cool about our involvement in that partnership. And that's why I thought this was such a great fit, was the underlying value system of this. Because Troy, when people hear the word hunting and competition, that's a tough hump sometimes to get over. And I think, I think, the way you guys have handled this, if they really do look at what the goal of the show is. And look, I watched the first part of it, and even though it's a competition about that, after a while you forget that it's a competition in a way, because we're like this anyway. As hunters, we go out and we understand the competition. Like I said in the beginning, us against the animal, us against us. And it's more about the overall competing that we all have inside of us anyway.
Yeah, it's actually funny being in the show and watching the hunt athletes kind of morph throughout the week. So they get there, and it's really fun. We have a dinner all together. They get to meet the other team and hang out and kind of get to just, build a little bit of camaraderie, and we all camp in the same spot. So
Right.
it's kind of cool to just come back to camp and kind of put the competition aside and just be hunters and just have a fun time. It's kind of like competitors during day, buds during the evening. And I love that part of Hunt Warz. But as the week goes on, you see this change. You see this, we're not competing so much against the other teams, we're competing against ourselves. And you start hearing, like, it's not even I wonder what not one time, I don't think in all of our episodes do you ever hear, I wonder what the other team's doing right now. It's always like, what can we do better? How can we get it done? Right. Like, that is exactly, and it's really cool. In one of the episodes, I remember one of the Idaho deer team says, we're not going to kill the camp. So why would we go back to camp? Like, let's do something. And that's the essence of this competition, is showing and pushing guys farther than they would push themselves. Now, in that first episode with the Bama boys, we probably pushed a little far, and I thought we killed them on the very first day, first hunt of Hunt Warz, because they came back at like 1 a.m, dehydrated, throwing up. I'm like, what have I done? It was crazy. And so that is my point. The ElkBros partnership, having that coaching prior to the hunt, right? Man, like, if I could go back, my one regret is I wish we had the ElkBros season 1, so that your team could prepare the teams to go out and compete and be their very best.
So everybody understands what that partnership is that, I heard you talking about having different types of, because this is going to grow, Elk Warz is going to grow. It's just phenomenal. And once people understand the concept, and I'm going to talk about the partnership, but there was something that you said, and I just want to make sure I ring true on that, is that I don't hear anything different about Hunt Warz than my elk hunting camp, dude. Because when all 6 of us are in camp, it's that same way, man. I mean, we're brothers. We love to hunt. We're passionate, but man, we razz each other and we talk about who gets what, and and I saw this, and when we're out there, we're all trying to get it done. We're loving the experience. We get to razz each other at camp, and we just man, the camaraderie is what it's all about, right?
Right, right.
In that sense, Hunt Warz is no different than my elk camp. I'm telling you, it's really not. Right. And
the only difference is if you win, you win $5,000 worth of prizes, and you're like, well, and it's a TV show, it's cool.
The
it's
other difference too is
these guys have memories.
I didn't have to pay for the tag. I'm not paying for the food. I'm not, it's like I get to go in with my gear and I get to hunt and I think that's something to talk about too. Like, I heard prime bows, I heard Badlands packs, I heard all this, which is phenomenal. But me, I'm an instinctive shooter. I don't shoot pins, and even though I might learn and love to work with that prime later on, I'm probably going to go in with what I wear, what I hunt in, all of that stuff, right? So.
Right, and we have tried to keep the show as authentic as possible. Where last year we learned a lot. We're still trying some things out for season 2, and we'll touch on that, but. As far as gear, I think I want to put more of an emphasis on the prize packs and less emphasis on what gear you get, because guys are comfy. And when thinking it, and I'll just kind of give you my logic behind it, is I'm like, hey, we got to level all things. We got to level the playing field as much as we possibly can. If some guy shows up with Swaros and some guy shows up in, with something else, are they going to feel like they're at a different a disadvantage? And that's just not true. In hunting, we actually are comfortable with what we have. Like, we shoot, or we have the gear that we have because we've tried it and it works for us. And so, we don't want to break from that. Season 2 will have one twist, but I think it's going to be okay. We do have prime bows shipped out. Often they're Hunt Warz season 2 made bows by Prime.
Wow.
For all the guys. So they'll be shooting primes, but they're going to get them in the middle of June. So they're going to have Hunt Warz prime bows, the new Nexus from Prime, that they will get shipped to them. And they will be able to practice
that really
July.
Somebody's giving me a new bow.
Yeah, right. You're getting a brand new Hunt Warz Season 2 decal bow. Like, geez, So we are going to try that this year because last year we had everybody just shoot whatever they had. This year we're going to try prime, and then we'll see how it works. Like, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, yeah, way cool. So going over towards where the partnership, like I said, and watching this and hearing you talking about having different categories, maybe hunters that have never hunted elk before, maybe even a pro division or something like that. I've heard that mentioned.
Yep.
But when I heard that, I was like, okay, you put out somebody in the woods that has never hunted elk before, has no clue about the behaviors. I mean, it kind of could end up looking like Groundhog Day, right? I mean, these guys walk around the woods. And I was like, well, what if think of The Voice, man, where they have the opportunity to learn some things, have some coaches, and to really learn elk behavior from people that have already been there, done that. And I got a response back from you immediately and introduced you to our ElkBros base camp course. And the fact that, so what's happening is competitors in season 2 that get drawn, get selected, will each have our ElkBros base camp course. I will be doing 8 weeks of training with these teams, and like you said, on equal footing. I'm going to have all of them at the same time. They all get to hear the same thing. They get to learn the same thing in these remote sessions that we do, so that we find out their weaknesses. Just like any coach, I get the opportunity to find out their weaknesses and their skill sets. Some might be good at calling, some might not have any knowledge, some will. Kind of like the difference between your first session, and I imagine your Colorado guys and your Montana guys had a little bit more knowledge. I'm just assuming this right now.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So it's pretty cool in that I get to find the gaps and fill in the gaps with the crew. And then during the hunt, there will be 2 ElkBros trained coaches there to have those learning moments, man, after the guys come back from the field.
So it's cool. When we draw the teams, what we do is we look at all of our teams. We actually do phone interviews or Zoom call interviews with each team that we select. So they have to agree to our ethics. They have to agree to our expectations. They have to agree to all the things that we ask for the show. And we reserve the right to turn anybody away. We give them their application feedback. And the reason we do that is because the show is not just, it definitely has a high ethics and expectation to it. So that being said, we try to match after we've interviewed everybody. We'll set the matchups, and we try to get as close as we can to experience level. Like season 1, you had guys that were 1 to 5-ish years of experience level, and then guys 5 years and beyond. What I love about the ElkBros partnership in that is I've hunted elk, ever since I was 12 years old, and when I went through your course, number 1, it confirmed, I'm like, okay, I know quite a bit of stuff, like I'm actually pretty good at calling and this and that. The other thing is it just brought some things that I'm like, that might work in a situation that I've had before. And I didn't think about that. So no matter where you're at in that spectrum of, high experience, tons of experience, none experience, like that's what I love about this partnership is everybody's going to learn something. And if they can come away from the Hunt Warz show and they're like, I learned tons, had a chance at a dream hunt, I won or didn't win, and it's now videoed, and I can show this to my grandkids and my kids that I was on this show and I competed as hardest. We've won. Like Hunt Warz has won, and that is exactly what the show is based on.
Yeah, and when you were talking about whether or not somebody, who really loses in this, man?
No. Yeah. You do see some heartbreaks though. When the Utah boys missed that 80-yard shot and didn't win their matchup, you saw them feeling it. They felt it. So it's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah. And I even love that. So people, I don't want to give away because I want people to go watch some of these episodes on that. But I will tell you that the winner for the package deal of the first group of elk hunters came down to an 80-yard shot, and
an 80-yard shot.
You have to go.
Yeah.
You have to go find out how that happened, and it was so cool the way this was done. And I'll tell all of my listeners out there, our Blue Collar Elk Hunting podcast is we are coaches. This is about learning. We're about giving them nuggets on helping them to flatten that learning curve so they have great experiences like we have throughout these years out there in the elk woods. And I will tell you, one of the things that, and again, why this is a good fit for us, Troy, is that, we're always talking about staying within your comfort zone, right? And so that you do have that quick, ethical, and responsible kill, taking the best shot, learning about patience, learning and understanding how to close the deal in a way that is exactly that, is responsible and is ethical. And I think there's so many people out there that think that their comfort zone is beyond what it really is. And I've had people ask me like, how close, Joe, as somebody that teaches, coaches, and has been doing it, what is the max distance somebody should shoot an elk at? Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you, backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding. And the answer to that from us has always been, that's not for us to decide, because we don't know your comfort zone. We don't know your shot capability. My brother Chav, his comfort zone is, he was 30 yards and in, where my comfort zone is 60 and in. So there's a difference. And we have another buddy who's 80 and in, but there's a lot of people that they think that their comfort zone is 80 yards, and then they're on TV and they're in Elk Wars and people are watching, and so they're standing around them and they're like, oh yeah, I peg this all the time. And
that's true. And it's funny, this is the other thing that I love about it is, my goal in all of this as well, another goal of the show is to make guys better. And if ElkBros can get our athletes to a point where they feel a lot more comfortable heading out. But the kicker is having you guys in camp. And the reason I say this is, how many times do you have a situation or something happen and you're like kind of stumped and you're like, what the heck just happened? A bull shuts up, or all of a sudden you just see them all bailing out of the drainage and you're like, how did that just happen? And you go back to camp and then another day goes and another day goes and another day goes. And all of a sudden you go home and you never really think about it again.
Mm-hmm.
If you could come back to be like, this is what happened.
Right.
Why do you have any insight for me? Like, we're going to capture some crazy cool educational moments because you're on the ground. You have those questions and you have somebody there to hopefully help you work it out and give you answers.
And I think that's kind of going to be the coolest part, is that instead of seeing guys banging their head against the wall for 7 days, making the same, having the same struggles, the same issues, the goal is to see growth. And I'm really hoping a lot of growth happens. No, I'm not hoping. It is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of growth before they even get to camp. And then once they're there, just having somebody to bounce things off and somebody that empowers you to rethink things in a different way or to look at it a different way and to see growth throughout the show and let our, the value that this is going to bring to both the competitors and the viewers, Troy, is tremendous.
Yep, I agree.
And I think that's what separates this apart from other shows.
Yeah. I mean, that's in essence what we wanted. We wanted to capture real life things, different personalities, different techniques. This is going to get to a point where we'll have international teams. Well, we've already had guys apply from Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia. So who knows? This season 2, you could have an Australian team in elk camp and literally be going against a team from the USA. And this will turn into international Hunt Warz.
So we actually are, because I get to see where our viewer and listening base is from. And of course, our biggest base is in the United States, Canada being second, and third out there, Australia. We have a lot of listeners in there, and they have sambar there also that they hunt. That's a lot similar to this. So I think kind of a cool thing for them that they have. So season one, what's the status? Where are we at in season 1?
So season 1, obviously, we've now dropped our 7th episode. We had 4 elk episodes and 3 deer episodes. We've got 3 more deer episodes and 3 more elk episodes. We'll kick back to New Mexico to our second matchup here now. So you'll see team Montana, the Fleury brothers, against the Incline boys from Colorado. And that matchup is, you're going to see some big bowls. You're going to see some bugling. You're going to see some crazy stuff. It's an interesting matchup. These guys are both super experienced.
Oh, cool.
And just the mentality you see from the first episodes to these guys, just they've been on multiple 7-day elk hunts. Just the tenacity, hey, this is kind of how we need to do this. It's really cool. So I'm excited. And then we'll finish up with Aaron Snyder and South Cox's matchup back in the desert.
Yeah. And I think that's, when you were talking about the 2 different groups, the first group of inexperienced elk hunters and then your second group, that's a lesson in itself, because when you take a look at that, why is it that there was so much of a struggle? Now, anybody, even with experience, you can go out and you can struggle because things just aren't happening, right? But you get a chance to see this and you get to see the experience. And for those people that want to elk hunt, you look at it and go, okay, so what were the failure points here? What were the things that were helping over here? And that lies a lot of lessons in itself. So
you're going to see, and the first guys that came, they had some close calls, that first group, and they hunted their butts off, and they had a little bit tougher go. You're talking that September 7th through the 15th, and that sometimes can be a tricky time to hunt. It's just the bulls aren't really ripping yet, but a lot of guys like to hunt that early rut.
It's my favorite time.
Yeah, I mean it is. It can be an amazing time, and we had there was another group of hunters down the road from us, and the first day we literally heard of a bull they killed, and it was a giant. I'm talking 370 plus. So our guys, it was funny, like their expectations went from like here to like, whew, like, and I'm like, guys, hone in for me. Like, don't get caught up in a 390 bull. If one comes through the trees, definitely smoke it. But it was crazy to see one of those those Gila monsters.
Oh yeah.
Right off the bat. They exist. And that the back end of that bull, oh baby, that was crazy. I mean, it was awesome to see. So
yeah. I mean, you're talking 375. I mean, all tines over 20 inches. You got a sword that's up there over 2 feet. You're probably 50-inch, maybe. I mean, we're talking really
giant.
Yeah, a nice bull. And I really think, honestly, man, I hunt early season because I think that's the best time to get a big bull, when they have not cowed up already. So there's pros and cons to both times, and that's what's so cool is this show gives you, a lot of guys are like, well, when should I hunt? Well, you get to find out a lot about those different types of seasons, the different modes that those elk are in, and what it's going to take to be able to get one of those puppies. So
like season 2 is going to take place. We've talked about that 15th to 24th is the season. So we'll be inside of that. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to kind of get these guys ready to go on that portion of the season. What does that season look like? What are the calls that are, that are the best to use? And I'm really excited about it because we rely on our sponsors a lot on gear and on, making sure our hunters are comfortable. Davis tents, stoves, like they're a huge sponsor, and we have a plush camp ready to go, when guys show up. But, this ElkBros partnership, I think, goes deeper than that, because you're going to prepare these guys to be successful in that time frame. So I'm really excited about, how this is shaping up, and the guys being able to learn and post about it. So you'll if you don't follow Hunt Warz on Instagram, you need to go follow us so that you can, they'll be posting their ElkBros, little nuggets of information, their sessions with you guys. We're going to have some really cool social media stuff kicked out immediately once we draw our teams.
Now, one thing that I want to make sure, because I talk elk, we're talking elk because this is an elk show. However, when you apply to be in Hunt Warz, there's 12 hunts. There's you've got the 4 elk, you got the 4 deer, you have 2 antelope, and 2 duck, right? Yep,
2 duck hunting teams. Fast and furious antelope and ducks.
Yeah. So when you enter in for your $100, you actually have the opportunity to be selected for any of those 12 hunts.
Yep. Yeah. And you think about it, like if you've applied out west, that any state usually requires you to buy a license, which is always $100 for a non-resident or more. Any application, like I applied for New Mexico. I looked at the statistics in 16C. For me as a non-resident to draw a 16C license, it was like less than 2%. And I don't get, New Mexico is even crazier because you have to pay for your tag up front, like the full $1,000 or whatever it is. You do get some of that refunded, but they always take that $100 license out. So last year, statistically, you had about a 27% chance to be on the show with the applications we got in a 2% or less area, and I'm like looking at this, like you get 12 chances. Like there's no state. If you put in for 12 different hunts in any state, you would be at a $10 application fee. You'd be $120, not to mention your license. So we've kind of made the value proposition like a no-brainer. Like this is it's for you and your buddy. So the $100 is the entry. If you're drawn, you call your buddy, we're going on Hunt Warz. You both get an opportunity to be there. It is 1 tag per 2, but you both win the prizes if your group wins.
Oh,
so it's kind of like, for us, value proposition. I'm like, we want to make this enough to where we're not getting, anybody and everybody. Like there is a little skin in the game, but holy smokes, like the value that you get is crazy.
And I actually, I know of people that have entered not once into this, they've entered multiple times.
Yeah. Which I would, there's opportunities all over, with raffles and this and that. And I just felt like this is it's not a raffle in the fact that you're applying for a show. You're applying for a competition. Like as soon as your name comes out of the hat, that's when the work starts. You know, that's when the competition starts. Are you going to be in better shape than the other group? Are you going to be, you know, like I said, with the coaching, are you going to take advantage of these resources that we're giving you to be able to be your very best when you show up in hunting camp?
Absolutely, man. So how do you feel about the response so far, you know, to season 1?
I actually thought we were going to get more haters. To be honest, I thought guys would come at us hard, but no, maybe I just don't get them. Maybe they just don't say anything, but man, the response has been epic. I mean, guys love the concept. I think we did a really good job with our draw blood rule, with the scoring.
So explain that before you don't just pass by that. What's your draw blood rule?
So the draw blood rule is if there is blood on the ground that we cannot confirm that it was just a leg or something that was, you know, very, very minimal with the footage, then that team is hunting that animal for the remainder of the competition. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. That's one of the expectations, that they have to sign an agreement with Hunt Warz that says, I adhere to that. Blood, I'm done, and you guys make the call. Because at the end of the day, we are out there to make sure that we are ethical and that we do everything we can. So we have them sign that expectation right off the bat. And if they hesitate or they're like, we're out, like we will have that as a rule always going forward. And so
you're actually that's real cool, because you have the camera to back that up to actually see where some of those shots are. Hopefully, I mean, it doesn't always, but hopefully it does, because I'll tell you, I guide on a premier ranch in New Mexico. We have a blood and done rule, and it doesn't matter if it's a flesh wound. If you hit that animal, that's your animal that you're going to hunt the rest of the time. And I really love that aspect, because when you have something like that, it really tunes in and focuses ethics, and to ensure that you're taking a quality ethical shot.
Yeah, it's in the back of their mind for sure. Guys talk about it regularly. We bring it up a lot in camp, and hey, you know, you better be sure on your shot. And that is honestly, you know, been one cool thing. And the feedback, you know, what we wanted to do is we wanted to produce a really high quality show. And I felt like, you know, our cameramen, Will, Britt, Trent, those guys are incredible. They're good hunters. So your cameraman is a hunter. That's a big deal. You know, like you were saying before with your camera guy, you have a lot of these camera guys have never hunted before. So having a hunter that knows the situation and what's going on is a big deal. Hunting with a camera is different. We have to spend some time coaching our guys, because they probably never hunted with the camera. So they've got to understand, like, hey, this is what you do. You need to tell your cameraman where to be. Luckily, you know, like I said, those guys are hunters, so they kind of know where to be before the situation presents itself. But that being said, there is no retakes, and we've been okay with that. In the mule deer matchup, we have a shot. We have a couple shots, actually, that you don't see where the arrow flight is. You see the bow go off, and it's real time, but you don't see where the arrow ends up, you know, hitting. And we're okay with that, with the sheer fact that we're doing our very best to capture it. But we also understand these guys have a lot on the line, and they're in a competition, and we want to make sure that we give them the benefit of the doubt. And so we've implemented GoPros as they're stalking in. We're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that the guys are successful. And that's kind of brings me back to the ElkBros, you know, partnership. If we can help these guys be successful in their competition, we've done our job.
So what has happened unexpected, man, in this season 1? Have there been any surprises?
Surprises. You know, it was kind of interesting at very first. I was really nervous. The first team, obviously, now, you know, they didn't tag out. I was freaking out. I'm like, we need kills. We need. And then as I thought about it more and more, I'm like, you know what? We don't. We need just quality, good footage, and we need to show that really this is what hunting is.
It's about the hunt.
Yeah. It's about the hunt. It's about the experience. It's about these guys pushing themselves as far as they can. And so that's why you'll see there's 4 episodes in the first hunt, and it's not just because it's about the kill. It's not about, hey, I want to just get all the action crammed into, to one. I watched a hunting show the other day, and there was 5 different animals shot on one 20-minute episode. And I'm like, yeah, you missed all the funnest part of the hunt. And so we have really focused on the experience that these guys are having rather than just the action.
And you get no educational value at all out of that. No. It's like, I mean, it's a pumper, I got to see this guy arrow an animal, and I think people have gotten to that instant gratification part of that. But if you're going to be somebody that wants to go out there, the value you get out of that is pretty minimal, other than knowing it can be done. I mean, when you see somebody arrow a bow, it just kind of tells you this can be done. Look at the animals it's happening with. But what did it take? How many days did that happen? I mean, you're looking at a highlight reel is what you're looking at. It's the same thing as, seeing a football game and seeing all the scores happen in 30 seconds.
All the touchdowns.
Yeah. So what did it take? What was the game? What was the strategy of the game? What were the weak areas, the strong areas? What were the problems that people had to overcome? Where are the failure points? Because that's the one thing with our coaching style. My coaching style is always identify failure points, learn to overcome those, and now your opportunities, there are going to be more that you can capitalize on, right? So.
Right. And, it's interesting, as you watch our episodes, you'll see a bunch of pop-ups with just general information. We wanted this show to appeal to non-hunters, everyday people that, hey, what does this mean? I always, I have one of my best friends, believe it or not, my best friend in the world is not a hunter. And he actually doesn't know hardly anything about hunting. I've tried to teach him. And so when I get going in my lingo, he's like, what the heck are you talking about? And so we've really, I call him and consult him a lot with this, because it's funny. I want to bring it to the general public as this is an educational show that tells you a lot about what hunters are talking about. Like, if you have a hunter in your life and you want to know the lingo that he uses, watch our show, because you'll see a lot of that lingo is pulled up. Like, what's a tank and what's this and why do you sit water, and just different educational things that I think adding the ElkBros is going to be another level of that.
I agree. And that's what we're excited about, because we're coaches. We're about teaching. We're about helping other people to have incredible experiences. We want people to go out there and understand elk behavior, know where they can find elk, know how to get a response, know how to respond to the response, and then put yourself in a position to where you can capitalize on that. So that really, for us, for coaches, man, this was like, it's like you just threw us in the middle of the field with a bunch of athletes going, hey, these are yours, so. And I'm actually really excited, because season 1, we had, 2 versus 2. Mm-hmm. Season 2 is King of the Camp for elk camp. So like you're talking, like you have 6 buddies. This is an atmosphere where you're going to have 4 teams in camp, same week, same time frame, like everything's the same, level playing field, same unit. And it's one team is coming out victorious in this sucker. Like, that's it. It's one team. So these elk hunters are going to be, kicking butt, grinding, doing whatever they possibly can to be successful, because they've got 3 other teams out to get them. And giving each other heck when they get back to camp.
Exactly. Exactly.
And did you find that? Did you see the brotherhood developing on these teams as they went through that week?
Yeah, it's actually, so season 1, what we did is we had the first elk hunts at separate camps. And I thought that, because I'm like, I don't want people following people. Like, I don't want to create any drama that we don't need. Again, when I say reality TV, I cringe, because I know what reality TV is to most people. It's this dramatized, just whatever. That is not what this is. And so that's why we separated the teams, is I'm like, I want them to hunt their own hunts. I want them to feel comfortable talking about their hunt, what they saw, how, acting themselves and having an enjoyable time in camp. That's my job as, putting on the show and putting on camp, is I want everybody to be and have a good time. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, I wanted them to be strategic and to be able to talk about that. Well, we decided to morph the camp and put it together in the deer hunting portion.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Like, it was so fun. We laughed, and we'd sit down, we'd have dinner, and all the teams would just be joking around. And yeah, there were days where there wasn't a lot shared of what they saw, and that was okay. Like, they were telling past hunting stories and figuring out, like, if they knew one another, if they'd ever been in the same area. Like, it was just a fun atmosphere. And guys don't have to participate. Everybody has their own tent. If they want to go back and just relax, they can go back and relax. But we have a huge tent where everybody eats and hangs out if they want to hang out. But yeah, it just proved to me, like, it's the camaraderie's there, whether you know them, you don't know them, it's there.
Well, that's a hunter soul, man. I mean, and when all of you and people that watch us, that watch the ElkBros and get to know our crew, I mean, we have the Venezuela Mafia, we got Gilbert, the Big O, we got Chav there, Brendan, the cat killer from Pennsylvania. And we just have, I mean, it's so funny, but we don't make this stuff up. It's just how hunters are, man. They have their own character, their own personas, and they're all different, but we all have the same passion, and that all comes out around that ring of fire really quick, man.
Right. Yeah, I would say it was funny, because I would probably say I was really surprised with how much the teams helped each other, even if they were in competition.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I was like, it was almost like, I was like, guys, you're in a competition. I had to remind them they were in a competition a lot. Like, we had one night where we were looking for an animal, and the other team's like, hey, do you want us to come and look? And I'm like, sure, if you want to do that, but then I'm like, you know what? No, get your rest. You guys need to go out and hunt in the morning. Like, we got it. Don't worry. Because there is one thing that we are still, what we did in season one is if the one team killed, then we told the other team that they killed. We did not tell them the score. We didn't tell them how it's sized. They just knew that the animal was dead.
Right.
And the other team was on the board. So that way they were still hunting their own hunt. I never want this to be in a, oh my gosh, that's a nice 6 point, but he's not big enough to win. I'm passing him. I want this to be you do your very best, and let's see where it comes out in the wash. Well,
and I can tell you, sometimes on an elk hunt, getting an elk down, that's the win, man. I mean,
I think guys are learning very quickly that tagging out and being at camp with an animal is way better than coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be like, my thing is, don't pass opportunities on the first day that you would definitely take on the last day. And that rings true for all hunters.
So season 2, you've learned some things from season 1, and I think this is going to be something that as you go, things will kind of morph and change and adapt as you go. So season 2, people can still enter for season 2, right?
Yeah. We are taking applications till June 15th. At June 15th at midnight is the cutoff. That's our application period. And the reason we do that is obviously New Mexico, Utah, like, there's some of these later draws that you don't find out if you've drawn or not. And so we wanted to give kind of all the draws, let them run their course, and then guys can see and put in for 12 more chances to hunt this season. And we've thought through, okay, what if a team comes out that has a tag already? There's a lot of variables, and we can work through those with each team. If somebody already has an elk tag, but they want to be on the show, we'll figure out how to get that tag. You can turn back pretty much any tag you want in any state, prior to the hunt starting. So we will work through those issues. If guys are, worried about that, I would say this: don't worry about a problem that hasn't come up yet until your name comes out of the hat. And then it's a great problem to have. Oh, I drew this tag, but I got chosen for Hunt Warz. Can you put me in the duck hunt instead of the elk hunt? Of course, we'll just sift through that as we go. And season 2,
the other way though, Troy, have you had it happen where somebody gets drawn for the duck hunt and they're like, I don't want a duck hunt. I just don't know anything about it.
No. I mean, and the reason being is it's a free hunt, and it's fun. No, I mean, last year, the only thing that we had last year was one of the Idaho teams asked, we had 2 things that I was not prepared for. Number one, the Idaho team's like, hey, my wife has an Idaho elk tag. Are you cool kicking us over to the mule deer hunt when we were interviewing them? And we were like, yeah, that's no problem. So we just swapped a team. That was really simple. And we try to accommodate as much as we possibly can on dates and, family stuff and whatever.
Right.
We are very, very, very upfront. We know all the dates of the hunt. Like, right when the names come out of the hat, we're going to know this is the time you need to be there and this is the time you'll be done. The other thing that I wasn't prepared for, you asked me in season 1, we had a team call us in 3 days before their matchup, and one guy had blown his shoulder out and could not pull his bow back.
Oh, wow.
And he not only couldn't pull his bow back, he had to go into surgery the next week, which was the hunt. And so his partner, he couldn't even come to spot for his partner. So we were like, oh, you can flip flop, hunters.
Right.
Arizona, we could do that. New Mexico, we couldn't, luckily we're going to hold out as long as we can to put their names on those vouchers, but we will draw an alternate team this year for each matchup right off the bat. And luckily, we went right back to Instagram Live. We said, hey, we've got, 40 something teams. We're drawing names out of the hat until we find a team to replace this one. That's how Team Utah ended up getting on the hunt. They didn't even know they were on Hunt Warz until 3 days before the hunt.
Wow.
So that was a curveball. Yeah, that was a curveball. We were getting ready to shove off, and I get a call from Team Wyoming, and they're like, hey, we're out. Wow. And I'm like, well, so that was one thing we learned, and luckily didn't bite us in the butt in season 1. We had a phenomenal team from Utah. The Thompson brothers they competed hard. They missed a giant buck. If you watch the episode, miss a giant, awesome mule deer. Anyway, and so that's one thing that really surprised me in season 1 is I didn't even think about that. What if one of the teams gets COVID or sick? We kind of planned for COVID, but then again, we were in contact with the teams every week. How are you doing? Things okay? That was probably the biggest shocker in season 1 was that, getting a call and them saying we can't come anymore.
Yeah, I could see that happening. As I watched the episodes going through there, I kind of tried to picture some of these things that could actually come up or things that would be difficult or things or problems that you might have had in preparing for that. And now, because you only had the 8 hunts last year and you've gone from 8 to 12, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So this is the first year for antelope and first year for duck.
And first year for rifle. I mean, all of our hunts were archery last year. So antelope hunts will be rifle hunters. And that's going to be a fun hunt. It's 3 days. You get 1 day of scouting. So we're going to have, it's 5 total days of time that you're going to need. You'll set aside a day to arrive in camp, get settled, do your background little, interview. Then the next day is going to be a full-blown scouting day. The antelope season in New Mexico is only 3 days.
3 days. Yep.
3 days. Yep. So these guys are going to be hunting I think it's a 60,000 acre ranch. Mm-hmm. So it is private land, but they all get to go on the private land. Both teams are on the private land, right. And it's a fast and furious 3-day antelope rifle hunt. The elk hunt we talked about is king of the camp. And then the mule deer hunt is a rifle hunt in Utah, in northern Utah. And it's the similar situation. We've got a 15,000 acre mountain that these guys are going to be competing on. And you'll have all 4 teams, and it's going to be a rifle hunt. And then the duck hunt is going to be at a duck hunting lodge. And I can't disclose a lot about that, but we're working on the duck hunters are going to be really, really excited.
And there is a whole different breed of duck hunters, man.
Oh,
Duck
geez,
hunters
those guys are crazy town.
fanatics, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even me and you, like if we had our name come out of the hat and I called you and said, hey, we're going to go duck hunt. The cool part about the duck hunt is we both take our shotguns. We're both in the competition. We're both shooting. And it's 2 to 3 days of just flat out fun. Like, who's going to turn that down, And we're going to have points on certain species, limiting out. If you miss a shot, it's a deduction. So, you're going to have some banter back and forth. Like, hey, don't miss that, like it's going to be a blast. And these are going to be really fun duck hunting places. And so.
Well, my question though is, on a duck hunt, what does your partner do?
What do you mean? Like you're both hunting?
Partner. Yeah. Huh?
You're both going to be hunting.
Oh, okay, cool. So like on the elk hunt, there's only one person in the team.
One shooter, one caller.
Now the
duck hunt, both guys are going to be duck hunting. Deer hunt, you're going to have a spotter and a shooter. And on the antelope, a spotter and a shooter.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that explains a lot right there, because I was like, on the duck hunt, what is this? What does this do? Yeah.
He's got to swim out and get the ducks.
Yeah, he's the one that gets to jump out in the water, man. We're definitely drawing short straw for that puppy.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, both guys in the duck hunt are going to be competing on their team. It's going to be a team competition there.
Way cool. That was Troy. What are you going to do, man, when Hunt Warz blows up to, holy Toledo? This could get as many hunts in areas as where it goes, man. Is that a future goal?
Oh yeah. Future goal is we will be sending, the more people that apply, the more hunts we'll buy. The more competitions we'll do. My background's in sales and running sales teams and sales guys and creating new ways of competition to make those guys motivated. I see this transferring very well in Hunt Warz. New areas. We've already got some really cool stuff for season 2. Season 3, Joe, it's gonna blow people's minds. So it's interesting because back to your initial, hunting and competition, I called quite a few conservation groups and pitched them this idea.
Right.
And, at the very beginning, a lot of them kind of shut the door and were like, listen, that's not going to work. Hunting and competition is not going to work. We have since shown the episode to a company or a conservation group here in Utah called Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. They're one of the biggest in Utah. Actually, I think they're the biggest. They watched our episodes and they are now full bore sponsoring season 2.
Awesome.
Their motto is put the hunt back in hunting. And when we showed them our episodes, they're like, there is nothing that encompasses this more than Hunt Warz. You're with your buddy, you're in a new area, you've never been there before, no trail cams. You can take them if you want and try. And you see that in elk season 1.
Yeah.
But it's the essence of hunting. It's show up and get it done. And so they are now backing season 2, and season 3 have given me some opportunities that I promise you're not gonna want to miss out. This is gonna be huge, and we're gonna get
missing out, because actually for me, this partnership that came up at a time when, for me, some commitments had already happened. So it made some things tighten in our schedule. In fact, this was our crew is talking about it. It is a beautiful wrench to have, but we're excited. We're so totally excited about it. But man, for the following season, when we know that we've done it, it's not our first rodeo. We've got the timing down. We can work on schedules together. We can talk about states together, those types of things, because our goal is, I want to develop my coaching staff, throughout the Western states, so that I have the best guys that believe in our philosophy, that are, teaching first type people, that love and have the passion of not only the hunt, but, sharing that experience with people. It just, man, the future looks like it's real exciting. It's super exciting.
Well, and being a passionate elk hunter, every time, and I bet you say the same thing, every time something magical happens during your elk hunt, you always sit down and you're like, I wish other people could experience what I just experienced.
Absolutely.
And so just so you know me, I want to give as many guys the opportunity to experience what I've experienced. And so elk hunting, mule deer hunting, that's our staples. That's what, that's what means so much to me. And I actually, it just listening to the guys come from Alabama last year, and they're like, this was a dream come true. Like legit, all of our teams had always come up and said, you gave me something that I never would have probably done myself. And that's when I know we've won. And that is where we will be successful, is we will keep our eye on the prize of creating experiences that people will always look back on and be like, holy cow, that was bar none the very greatest thing I've ever done,
So I'm going to put you on the spot here, because I have a feeling if you had your ruthers of which hunt you would get selected for. So let's say that Troy got selected for the Hunt Warz, man. So let me tell you what, you're out there and you're teamed up. Are you going to win that thing?
Oh my gosh. In my mind, I'm the very best elk hunter on the planet. That's in my mind. And I tell myself that on a reg, but watching those guys and being in the situations that they were in, man, it was, I don't know how much I would have done different. I see these teams and I'm there all week long, and I hear them come back, and I listen to their stories, and I'm like, man, I don't know how much more I would have done, or I wouldn't have done this, or holy cow, you went way deeper than I would have, and right. And so I'd like to say yes, and that my skill set would match up very well. Maybe we need to do something like, match up against the CEO one time. We'll do a matchup, and I'll put myself in the hat.
I mean, when you were talking about the pro thing, man, I mean, get Team Hunt Warz against, team other.
Yeah.
That might be.
Yeah, we've thought a lot about that. Maybe in winter season, I'll throw my name in, and I'll come back against all the winners, and we'll put something on the line where if we win, then they have to give me all their prizes that they won.
Oh man, I tell you, Troy, I'm so excited about this. And I'm proud and honored that this partnership not only represents what we believe in, but it's a fit because of what your value system is and what you bring to the show. Yeah. And I want to compliment you on that, because I think the fact that you do have conservation groups that are seeing, after hearing the word, competition, and then coming in and actually seeing what it's about, that this is about the hunt. This is about the hunter. This is about skill sets and development, and actually propagating those types of things out to people out there that are seeing this. It's not a whack 'em and stack 'em, man. This is go out and grind, and I think that's awesome, man. Compliment.
Yeah, again, we've touched on this, but it's being in the woods. It's in our world that we're in these days. There's just so much uncertainty, and who knows what's going on, and what's the truth and what's not. And, even bleeding over to the hunting world, I feel like, there's some great personalities out there that definitely are great for the hunting world. Yep. But they're the same personalities. And I felt like there was a really stagnant feel in the hunting world, that it was the same guys all the time, and they were dominating, the outdoor channel and, all these platforms. And so for us to come in and disrupt it like this, that's what we wanted to do. And we wanted to kind of push it back to the everyday guy. Yes. Hunting was always about the everyday guy to me. It was about going out with my dad. It was about, and, we'll have father-son and father-daughter matchups down the road. We've got awesome ideas for that, and getting new hunters into, the mix. But
very cool.
That to me is what the hunting world needs to be about. It doesn't need to be about who went out and, shot their 200th animal, that just to me doesn't do it, and I wanted to show the real struggle of what hunters go through, and that people can look at it and say, geez, these guys are not just cold-blooded killers. These guys are actual woodsmen. They understand the animals and conservation and leaving it better than we found it. So that's my morals. That's what I want the show to be about. And I feel like we captured that in season 1, and season 2 will just get better.
Absolutely, man. So where can people find you? Where can they watch Hunt Warz?
So right now it's on Carbon TV, which is an awesome platform. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. YouTube is Hunt Warz TV. All of our episodes are on are on our YouTube channel, and please go subscribe there. That way you'll get updates. It's actually funny. One of the most things that I get hit up about is if we're late dropping an episode. I get a lot of people that are upset at me. I had no idea that was like a big deal. So we have been really good at being on time and getting our episodes. There was a couple glitches and some internet stuff, and holy cow, like the haters came out. So YouTube, and then once season 1 is all done and complete and we've got all the episodes aired, we will then upload the entire season onto Amazon Prime.
Oh, awesome. Way cool, man. They can find it on Prime.
Yeah, and we wanted to do the digital platform. We talked to the Outdoor Channel, but for me, it was, I wanted to capture, if it's a 30-minute episode, I want 30 minutes. If it's, this, like, it fit us better to be more realistic and not conform to the television side of things. And so for us, it was, we have some episodes that are 20 minutes, some episodes 30. We give our sponsorships ample time to, we do a good job. It's not over saturated with the sponsor stuff. Like, we want to keep it real. We don't want to keep it commercialized, but we do love all of our sponsors, and we haven't added a ton of sponsors. To be honest, all of our sponsors came back for season 2. We swapped out a couple, but we added Tactic Cam. That's one that's awesome. So your prime bow will be ready to go with a Tactic Cam on it. Your rifle scope will have a Tactic Cam on it. So we did a partnership with them. The ElkBros is a huge partnership for us to better our athletes. And then the Sportsmen's for Fish and Wildlife Conservation Group backing us this year. They're helping us with the prize packs. They're helping us build, Baku's going to have e-bikes in camp for every group. I mean, we just got some really cool stuff. Like, you're going to show up to camp and you'll have your pick of the litter with 12 e-bikes, and your team, and we'll have them charged every night and ready for you to take out and use. And in New Mexico, those suckers were awesome.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, the terrain's perfect for that over here. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So if people
that's and then the Hunt Warz Instagram page, that's another place you can find us.
And it's Hunt Warz with a Z. So
on Instagram, we actually, if you go to Hunt Warz with an S.com, we own that too, but we wanted to do a little bit different spin. Mm-hmm. But you go apply for season 2 on Hunt Warz with a Z.com or S. You hit apply now. You go to add to cart, add your entry. What we did is we made it very simple for people to enter. Once you enter your name comes out of the hat, you will then pick your hunting partner. And the reason we did that is we didn't want, the application process, period is 4 or 5 months. The last thing I want to do is pull a name out of a hat in a partnership that hates each other and is like, we're not going hunting together anymore. That's the last call I want to make. So we just have it. One person enters. The other thing is it does settle. A lot of guys are like, well, how do I know who's the shooter and who's the caller?
Right.
Both of you enter.
Yeah.
Whatever name comes out of the hat, that's your shooter. The other guy's the caller. So we just kind of made it, very simple for guys to decide the tiebreaker of who's going to shoot and who's going to call. Both of you enter. Whoever's name comes out of the hat, you're the shooter.
Awesome. I just I can't wait to see where all this goes. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for us, and I'm excited for a lot of people out there that are going to have a really cool opportunity. So
yeah,
wait, cool.
I can't echo it enough. I miss it. I miss I miss elk camp with those guys. I miss hanging out with the Bama boys and,
well,
you know,
the hardest thing about this though is because, like I said, with our season, our ElkBros crew is like, when do we hunt? You know, it's like, because anybody that does this, that's passionate about this, loves to elk hunt, you know, or loves to deer hunt. So, you know, it's a tough problem to have. We'll figure it out. We're working on figuring it out. You might see, guys, and our listeners know that you might see ElkBros on the road this year in another state. So stay tuned for that.
Cool.
Troy, thanks a lot, man. This was tremendous. Looking forward to it, partner.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you guys until the next time, man. Keep believing and achieving, but whatever you do, man, keep dreaming about that screaming. We'll see you. Peace.